Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of Above Human Disagreement. Today, I'm super excited about our guest. His name is Terry Tucker, and he's a motivational speaker that just wrote a book. So I'm on his bio here. Let me just read a little bit. Okay, Terry's saying, I recently wrote a book entitled Sustainable Excellence 10 Principles to Leading Your Uncommon and Extraordinary Life. He wrote it to help people find and live their uncommon and extraordinary life. The 10 principles outlined in the book will provide the bedrock necessary to form the foundation of unshakable beliefs and dedicated behaviors to reinforce your attitude. No matter how much pain you must endure or how many obstacles you must overcome, my hope is that people who read this book will lead a life of significance as well as a life of success. That sounds great to me. Terry, welcome to the program.
Well, thanks for having me on, Matt. I'm really looking forward to talking with you today.
My pleasure, my friend. So to get you rolling, tell us about your book. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Sure. So the book was really born out of two conversations that I had. I used to be a girls' high school basketball coach where we lived in Texas. And I had one of my players move to the area in Colorado with her fiance where my wife and I live. And the four of us had dinner one night. And after dinner, I remember saying to her, I'm really excited that you're living close and I can watch you find and live your purpose. And she got real quiet for a while. And then she looked at me and she said, well, Coach, what do you think my purpose is? I said, I have absolutely no idea what your purpose is, but that's what your life should be about. Finding the reason you were put on the face of this earth, using your unique gifts and talents and living that reason. So that was the first conversation. And then the second conversation was with a young man in college who reached out to me on social media. And he asked me what I thought were the most important things that he should learn, not to just be successful in his job or in business, but to be successful in life. And I mean, Matt, I didn't want to give him the, get up early, work hard, help others kind of stuff. Not that those aren't important. Those are incredibly important. But I wanted to see if I could go deeper with him. So I spent some time and I was writing some notes and eventually kind of had these 10 thoughts, these 10 ideas, these 10 principles. And so I sent them to him. And then I stepped back and I was like, I got a life story that fits underneath this principle, or I know somebody whose life emulates that principle. Unfortunately, I've been battling cancer for almost 11 years, and I had my leg amputated in 2020. And while I was healing from that amputation, I sat down at the computer every day and I built stories, and they're real stories about real people underneath each of the principles. And that's how the book came to be.
I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. So can you dig a little deeper into the 10 different principles?
Yeah, I always have the book close because
Beautiful.
I wrote the principles, so it's like I better know what I'm talking about. But
well, can you show me that? Show me the book, please. Yeah, let me see the cup. There we go. There we go. Okay, perfect. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Terry.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
So I'll give you the 10 principles. They are not in any order. Number 1 is not necessarily any more important than number 7 or anything like that. But the first one is enjoy your life. The second one is, and this is the one, there's always one principle when a reader, reaches out to me and says, hey, I read your book and number 7, really resonated with me. Number 2 is the one that resonates with me. And I think it's because I've done it. And I'm not necessarily proud that I've done it many times in my life, but it's this. Most people think with their fears and their insecurities instead of using their minds.
Oh,
so that's the second principle. Third principle is you were born to live an uncommon and extraordinary life. The fourth one is always remain curious and ask questions. The fifth one, you are the person that you're looking to become. The sixth one, put your God and your family before everything else. Number 7, be part of something that's bigger than yourself. Number 8, fail often, especially when you're young. Number 9, listen more than you talk. And number 10, love is the most important word in any language. So those are what I felt are sort of my 10, go-tos at this point in my life.
Well, I can tell you, having just listed them for me, I can't think of 10 that are more deserving.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Each one of them strikes me as you've ruminated deeper into it, and now you're explaining to these kids what you've extracted. Give me an example. Can you bring up one more again? Let's talk a little in a little greater detail about one of the ones you like the most, one of those steps.
And I think it's the one, like I said, number two, I say none are more important than the other ones, but in all honesty, I think probably the last one, the one about love, one about being the most important word. I remember when I was growing up, there was a basketball coach at UCLA by the name of John Wooden. And John Wooden, I'm 6'8". I went to college on a basketball scholarship and all that. So basketball was something that always has been important in my life. And I remember I've read Wooden's books. I hung on every interview that he gave. And I remember one day he was being interviewed by a sports reporter, and I was literally there with a pad of paper and a pencil. I'm like, all right, coach, come on, give me some good X's and O's, something I can use, while I'm practicing. And the reporter asked him, what's the most important thing that you want your players to learn, that you want your players to understand being part of your program at UCLA? And I was all set for, some great X's and O's. And he said, I want my players to understand the importance of love. And I was like, no, coach, come on, give me something good. I was like 13 years old, I was a kid. But he went on to elaborate how I want my players to understand, to love themselves, to love their teammates, to love what they do, to love their creator in life. And the more I thought about that, the more I kind of contemplated that over my life. That really is the most important thing I think we do. And I've come to understand it this way. We tend to think that we are born empty, that we're just a blank vessel. And when we get out of high school or college or the military, whatever we end up doing, when we get into life, we feel like we've got to fill ourselves up. I got to get a lot of money. I got to get a great job. I've got to drive a nice car. I've got to live and we consume. And what I found that it's really just the opposite, that it's not about being empty and filling ourselves up. It's that we're born full, and our job, kind of in conjunction with the word love, is to empty ourselves out for the betterment of ourselves, our family, our friends, our fellow man, our creator, if that's what you believe, and things like that. So it's just a different way of looking at things that I'm not sure people look at that way anymore.
I think it was absolutely beautiful and articulated to perfection.
Thank you.
It is. It's all, in my humble opinion, it's a perception thing, right? And going into a basketball game or what be it, to have that perception first and foremost be about the love just means that whole endeavor takes place in a frequency that's a good spot to be. And I think you articulated it beautifully. We feel like we're missing something, yet we're bountiful in love, and we don't know it.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. So grab one more. Let's talk one more in your book here.
Let's see.
Whatever comes to mind that you want to elaborate on, because that was a beautiful message. Absolutely beautiful.
So I think one of the other ones that I enjoy, and it's so simple, these are not real complex things. And the one of the jobs that I've had in my life is I was a SWAT team hostage negotiator for the Cincinnati Police Department. And I talk in there about the importance of listening. And, a lot of times when I say that, people are like, well, of course, we all listen. It's like, no, we don't listen. And when I was a negotiator, we had this formula that we kind of were taught. And it had to do with how we communicated, how we deliver a message. And the formula was 7-38-55. So 7% of your message is delivered by the words that you use. 38% of it is delivered by your tone of voice, and 55% of it is delivered by your body language or your facial expressions. So, when you're a police officer, 99% of what you do is face-to-face with another person, whether you stop them to give them a ticket for speeding or you're answering a radio run for a fight. You're face-to-face with another person, and you can take visual clues. So if I'm talking to you, and you're kind of like, looking around, well, I might think you're looking to run. Okay, I can see that. But if you're standing there and you're balling up your fists, maybe you want to fight me. So I can take those visual clues and I can act accordingly. I can sit you down, I can handcuff you, I can put you in my car, whatever's appropriate for why I'm there. But as negotiators, we weren't with the person we were negotiating with. We could be blocks away on the phone. We could be behind a locked door or a wall. So that 55% of how we communicate, which is body language and facial expressions, we didn't have that. We didn't get to see that. So we had to figure things out based on what people were saying, what they weren't saying, and how they were saying it. And I talk now about, there was really two types of listening. There's, hurry up, Matt, say what you're going to say because I want to get my 2 cents in there. That's listening to respond as opposed to listening to understand. Whereas you say something, I may agree with you, I may not agree with you, but okay, Matt, help me understand where you're coming from, and then we can start discussing it. And the problem, I think, in society today is that we're just screaming at each other. And when you're screaming at me and I'm screaming at you, neither one of us can hear what's going on. And certainly, if we can't hear what's going on, we can't come to any point where we can understand where the other person's coming from.
Absolutely brilliant observation and assessment. I could not agree more. And as a fallible human being, one of my greatest detriments is the inability to listen. And the way you just described it and the importance of it cannot be refuted. That's an absolute brilliant piece of wisdom for my 17-year-old boys. All right, so Terry, I'm going to leave it at that because that was a home run. So will you please tell people where they can get the book? Okay, it's just a little bit I've heard, and I believe I'm a good judge of this. The content within that book is invaluable, my friend. We need to get it in people's hands. Can't wait to read it myself. So please go ahead and tell people how they can get in touch with you, where they can get the book, and whether or not we're going to be able to get you back on, because I'd love to hear more, my friend.
Sure, Matt. Absolutely. I'd be more than happy to come back on. You can get Sustainable Excellence anywhere you can get, wherever you get your books, Apple, iBooks, BarnesandNoble.com, Amazon, wherever you get your book online. I have a blog that I put up a thought for the day every day on this blog. With that thought comes a question about maybe how you can apply that into your life. The blog is motivationalcheck.com. I also have recommendations for books to read there, videos to watch. You can leave me a message. So motivationalcheck.com will get you to me.
Perfect. And I'd like to I want to learn more about the service that you provided in terms of the time you spent on the streets and your understanding and being submerged in that war. The premise of reaching to the other side to understand that plight and listen to what those people say. I just think what you're doing in that regard is invaluable. We need to know more about it. Okay.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Congratulations on the book. Thank you for taking the time to come on, Terry. It's truly a pleasure, my friend.
Likewise, Matt. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
You too.